Another quick video I wanted to do today has to do with how often do we need to be reminded. I'm hoping that this video is going to be much shorter than previous. How many times and how often do we need to be reminded to serve God, to live for God? Um, how often do we have to be reminded of the precepts of God, the ordinances, the expectations of God? It seems like that uh, we often will, will be living our lives and wonder, why is this particular part of my life not working out? Why does it seem like that I keep having issues in this particular part of my life? And we neglect to do what is the most important thing, which is taking God's word, using it like a mirror to see if what how we're living, what we're doing matches up with what God's word says. We neglect to do that. We get so caught up with the world and okay, well the world says that things should be like this, and I'm so used to doing that you know that's my first thought every time is okay, this is how the world does it, so that's the way I'm going to see it. Well, we've got to get past that. It's if you've been a Christian any length of time, and I've said in the previous video, the First Corinthians, and it was told to them. It was either 3 or 4 years after salvation, after the church had started, that Paul said they should be to a point where they were teaching other Christians about the deeper things of God. So, we have to start growing. We've got to get past this stage of infancy and having to be constantly reminded. Okay, now, um, you know, you need to live right when you're on your job because you're an example. You know if God gives you if God opens a door for you while you're at your job to speak to someone about Him, you can't be afraid. You got to put God first, and you got to think that you're dealing with this person's eternal soul. How often do we have to be reminded of that same fact? Because it seems like okay, well I did it, and then okay, well what about those other 3 or 4 or 5 times that you know you encountered someone or God opened a door for you. How long after that initial, after that first time that you spoke with someone, how long did that last, or did it last any time at all? And I'm finding over and over and over that it's not lasting. Like we'll have revival at church, and while we're there, boy, it's good, and we get on fire, and the day after it's over, nothing. It's a distant memory. Well, why? Well, it's because we're not gonna candy coat it. We're not living right. We're not living for God the way we should. Just the way it is. If if you're not being seen as, wow, he just takes it too far, then you're not doing it right. Do you know why I can say that? God's word tells us that our love for God, our love for Christ, should make all other loves seem like hate. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that we should only love Christ and, hate our wives and children and everyone else? No, that is not what that means. It means that in comparison, the love that you have for your wife should should your love for Christ should be so great on the scale that it almost seems like this love is hate, because this love is so much higher. And I know you can shouldn't I shouldn't have stopped right here, but anyway, but that's how much higher it should be. Uh, but that's what it says. So we are not taking things to the extreme. Now, what? Okay, am I saying that every second of your life, if it's not talking about God, related to God, or concerning God, are you out of the will of God? And that's not what I'm saying. Um, I'm not saying that at all. I don't think that's. I mean, why would we have wives and children and material blessings from God if all we're supposed to do, I mean, every moment of every single day is supposed to be nothing but God? I, I don't, we would get so burnt out that we would be ineffective. So that's not it. That's not it. That's not what we're saying. What I'm trying to say is, okay, in your marriage, uh, are you constantly having to be reminded to meet God's expectations, or is your do you keep wondering in your marriage why why are we not happy? Why are we constantly having problems? Why are we constantly at odds with each other, or whatever the questions are in the negative? Um, okay, have you looked in the mirror? Have you looked in God's mirror? Because again, being honest, 9 times out of 10, if you're being honest, no, you haven't. You are taking an emotional view of it. You're taking a worldly view of it, and you're saying, because this, either consciously or subconsciously, is why I'm doing this. And that's not the way it works. That's not the way living for God works. So are you having to be reminded to live for God? Are you having to be reminded constantly to do? I go back to marriage because marriage was the first thing instituted after creation. It was right there at the beginning. If the married couple is living for God and teaching their children right, then guess what? Children will do the same thing and do the same thing and do the same thing. That is the way it's supposed to work. So instead, what we have is we have people that they're not having a good marriage. For whatever reason, they're not having a good marriage. Either one spouse or the other feels slighted or neglected or whatever. Okay? Instead of looking here first, comparing it with the mirror of God's Word, and then deciding what to do, we say, okay, wife says, well, husband, you haven't given me flowers in 6 months. Okay, so because the husband hasn't given her flowers in 6 months, she actually started feeling this about 3 months back. And because she didn't want to say anything, because if you say anything, well, then that takes away from the specialness of it. So the bitterness starts building up. And that bitterness turned into, whether it was conscious or subconscious, the wife starts, maybe saying disrespectful things to the husband. Or maybe in front of the children corrects the husband. Or or takes the children's side, you know, over the husband, whatever the case may be. It's like, it's not major things. She doesn't go out and sleep around on the husband and commit adultery, nothing like that. It's just these small things, and it may not even be a conscious thing, but it's because of that bitterness that is growing in her heart, that these things begin, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then finally at the 6 month point there's a headbutt session, and now you're fussing at each other, and it's all because of what? What was the cause? Okay, how should it have went? Wife, what she should have done, instead of saying, "Well, you haven't got me flowers in 6 months," what should she have done? She should have went to God's Word. Does God's Word say that a requirement of a husband is to buy his wife flowers, or buy his wife? It doesn't have to be flowers. Any type of thing to dote on his wife. Does it say that? No, it doesn't. What does it say? The responsibility of the husband is to be the spiritual leader of the home. He has been that. And the responsibility of the husband is to love his wife. How? Like Christ loved the church. In what way did Christ show his love for the church? He gave his life for it. Wife, if your husband, if you can tell by his actions that he would lay down his life for you, he is meeting, and he is being the spiritual leader of the home, he is meeting God's criteria. So your desire for flowers, although there's nothing wrong with getting flowers, but what you're doing is you are getting bent out of shape. You are feeling slighted because of something the world teaches. The world teaches that a husband that loves his wife will give her flowers. Tell me it ain't so. You can't tell me it ain't so, because you see it in commercials, you see it in movies, you see it all the time. A husband that loves his wife will give his wife flowers. Okay, well, guess what? That's the world. We don't live for the world as Christians. We live for God. Now, am I saying husbands don't need to buy your wives flowers? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in this situation, and in many, many situations similar to this, you have a spouse that is getting completely bent out of shape and causing strife and contention within the marriage because of an expectation that does not line up with God's Word. Plain and simple. So, if it's kind of hard as far as the husband goes. It's not a right now easy thing to show that you would lay down your life for your wife, without doing it. But it can be seen in how you conduct yourself. Wife, if your husband seems to get overly agitated with someone that disrespects you, whether it be outside the home or whether it be your children, that's probably a good indication that he would lay down his life for you. If he takes steps to make sure that you are protected, that's probably a good indication that he would lay down his life for you. Does he, since he is the spiritual leader of the home, Does he spend time studying and learning about God and trying to bring that to you and give to you what God has laid on his heart? If he has, he's probably a godly fellow, and he probably would lay down his life for you, and he's meeting his expectations. So, it goes the same. It's not just a husband or wife thing. It goes both ways. But here's the thing: you also, as Christians, you also cannot. Let's take the husband. Husband, if you sit there and you allow your wife to be disrespected by outside or by your children or family or whatever, if you allow that, and you're allowing that because you are upset that she is not fulfilling her role uh, as a Christian wife should, in whatever aspect you want to uh, look at. It doesn't matter which part of being a Christian wife, but in some aspect that, well, she's not living up to what she's supposed to be doing. So now you've backed off on uh, how you take up for someone disrespecting her. You're wrong, my friend. You are dead wrong. You live the way God wants you to live, and let God take care of the other person. Now, men, it is your responsibility to be the spiritual leader of the home. If you're going to do that, then at times you're going to have to say, hey, this is not being done. Wives, when things get to that point, you have to accept that. He is the leader of the home. If you don't accept if there's something that he's trying to correct to get back in line with God's word in the home, if you don't accept that openly, if you don't accept that with a willing heart, stand behind him and make that push with him, you are wrong. You are out of God's will. I'm not going to candy coat it. There's no way to get around it. That's just the way it is. You are out of God's will. So it's not about wives being wrong all the time. It's not about husbands being wrong all the time. It's about following God's word. And you shouldn't have to be reminded about what God's expectations are, and that you need to meet God's expectations. So if let's say let's say everything's going good, right? Let's say that both of you are living for God. You're meeting God's expectations. The marriage is going smooth. Things are maybe they're improving, and something happens. Whether it be sickness, whether it be financial issues, whether it be it really doesn't matter what the problem that arises. I, it is completely understandable for you to kind of miss doing certain things, to kind of stumble, to hit a stumbling block. We're human. It happens. Life happens, and again, we're not all on the same level, and uh, we deal with things differently. Uh, but here's the thing. One, whatever has happened, you cannot let it defeat you to the point to where you stop meeting God's expectations. Uh, and two, once you are past whatever has happened or transpired, uh, you can't start over at square one. You, you can't start at square one. I mean, I've talked to so many people that it's like, oh man, things were getting better, things were going better, and then this happened, and then it's like we're having to start all over again. That everything that was learned right here, everything that was said, everything that finally got us on the right track is having to be redone, resaid, re-gone over here. And instead of picking up where you left off, it's like you're starting from square one again. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go along. You started at square one, and things is improving, and you're both living for God again, and you're going along good. Well, guess what? Life is going to happen again. Something else is going to come along. Are you going to start again at square one? Because apparently that seems like what is the norm for a lot of Christian today. And this is not just marriage. This is with anything. If you have a problem with your prayer life, and you're going along, and boy, you're praying like you should, and you're being close to God, and then all of a sudden you get the flu, and and it hits you hard, and you just don't feel like doing nothing. And then after the flu passes, you prayer life, you forgot to pray one day, and then the next day, oh, you forgot to pray, and then, well, you prayed today, and then the next day you forgot to pray, and before long you're praying here and there, and your prayer life is just nowhere near. See, that's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. It's not just about, okay, well, something happened, and now I've got to build, but no, that's the problem right there. If you were praying, let's say that you prayed once a day every single day. I'm not saying that's just going to be my example. You pray once a day every single day. You get the flu, now you're praying once a week. And you say, well, I'm trying to get back to praying once a day. What? Why? Why are you having such a problem to getting back to once every single day? See, that's what I'm talking about. That right there is what I'm talking about. It's not just that we're hitting some bad spots, and I had this stumbling block, but now we're going to get back on with it. It's not that we're hitting these stumbling blocks, and we're just staying on the ground or on our knees or crawling or whatever, and maybe finally the preacher gets up and steps on our toes, and we finally get back to the one prayer a day, or we get back to treating our spouses like we're supposed to, or discipline our children like we're supposed to. But why? Why are we having to constantly be pushed and reminded to do these things that we know? Okay, saying that you forgot, if you forget what you're supposed to do for God, you really need to do some more studying, because you are in a backslid condition. For you to forget, it's one thing. And if you just lied and say you forgot, well, you still backslid. But fellow Christians, brothers, sisters in Christ, we have got to stop with this constantly having to be reminded to live for God. We've got to take some personal responsibility. We've got to stop wondering, when something goes wrong in the marriage, when something goes wrong with our relationship with God, what happened? I don't know what happened. Okay, well, before you go opening your mouth and before you go to God, before you go to your spouse, before you go to your brother and sister in Christ, you start with you. Make sure you're looking in God's mirror. Get you where you need to be, and more than likely, instead of going to God or the other person or spouse or whatever and saying, "What's wrong?" you'll be going and saying, "I've been wrong. I haven't been meeting God's expectations, and I'm going to do better." And don't just say you're going to do better. Progress. But we've got to get out of this having to constantly be reminded not only to meet God's expectations, but what God's expectations are. If you don't know what God's expectations are, guess what? You need to find out. It's plain and simple. The church is where it's at today. We've lost our power. We are wallowing in the sins of the world. We've become carnal Christians. The divorce rate is so high among Christian marriages. Children are running rampant in Christian homes because we are not living the way we're supposed to. We're not living to meet God's expectations. Does that mean we're going to be perfect? Of course, again, no, we're not going to be perfect. But the time has come for us to grow up as Christians and to stop having to constantly be reminded to live for God, and to live for God not because of, well, I'm going to do this until this person does wrong and then I'm just going to not do it. No, no, no. You live for God because you are a Christian, you have the Holy Spirit indwelling in you, and because you want to serve God. Everything else will take care of itself. God will take care of everything as long as you are doing right. If you are not living right, God may continue to put you through trials until you finally get tired of the trials and start looking at yourself in God's mirror and start living up to His expectations. I hope that this helps you. I hope that this spurs you to start looking at self in God's mirror before asking others what's wrong, and to just start living for God and meeting His expectations. It gets tiring um, when we don't do that. This world beats us down, and it makes life so much harder to live when we refuse to follow God's word and meet His expectations. Again, I hope you got help from this. If there's any questions, comments, criticisms, please go to revealinggodstruth.com and just contact me through the website. And till next time, God bless.